Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your sensei Al Bob. We're out in the road on the Bob. It's a morning insight. So, yesterday I did our first, and this is a real first, maybe. Who knows? But welcome and thank you for everyone who's here. I'd love to see some thumbs up and some comments. And anybody wants to stick something in my PayPal, it does work. I received something the other day, and thank you very much. Um, but the more things seem terrible, the more it is actually seemingly okay. And these are my scientifically proven time travel Aquarian age goggles. Right, I can peer into the dust, into the fog of what's going on. And the more war, more famine, more pestilence, more disease, the more it looks like the four horsemen, really, the more it is, um, you know, a better thing because the powers that be are losing their grasp. They're hanging on by their fingernails. You know, um, we went into Iraq in '91 not because of Kuwait, you know, because the French and the Germans had discovered some technology in the sections of Iraq that the Kurds were in, and it was ancient technology, and something. If you've ever watched the TV show from the I think '80s or '90s, it was called Stargate. We the show correct on what it was talking about. That we're out there in space all over the place. We have access to some pretty amazing technology, which we really don't bring back home because we don't. We want to keep the folks down on the farm, and so we went in there to take that technology because the French and the Germans wouldn't share it with us, and it was Looking Glass. Now we had other versions of Looking Glass. We had things like viewing, and but remote viewing is very specific. It just looks at that specific thing, right? But you can put all those dots together and get a good idea of what's going on, and why we are given insights in our Hollywood. What is Hollywood? Hollywood. Every magic wand is made from the holly tree, right? So Hollywood. And so that's why that is what Hollywood is doing. It gives the masses insight to not insight so much because that means that you would understand, but exposure. So Steven Spielberg is, the preeminent character actor who was given the opportunity to put out these movies. Close Encounters. Um, um, you know, um, Back to the Future. Um, you know, so Close Encounters was really a description of a situation that occurred with President Eisenhower when he went and made a deal with the alien folk who are really oh the alien agenda is a multiple level thing, right? It's dimensional. It is present, meaning Hail Hydra. Stan Lee's Captain America. Marvel is a marvel because, and again, Stan Lee was given the opportunity to give people the heads up of what's going on, right? And so that's kind of it. So my novels that I've been writing are similar, right? And I read, 3 pages yesterday, and I've gotten no real comments on it. So uh, you know, so here we are in the Aquarian age, and mm, well, I have to take out those glasses and put on these glasses. There's nobody watching. Uh, let's see. Let's go to Dreamy Dreamland. Um, see how many people watched yesterday. Oh, let's see. 13 watched the morning show. 7 viewed the afternoon show. Right? Grave danger in Taiwan. I mean, so China is really hurting, meaning it's overextended itself. It's already gone off the cliff economically. To one of the reasons why they locked everyone down, because they had no way to keep their you know their growth. Without growth they die, right? And so the only way they can have growth now is to have a war, right? So there's little Taiwan, and you know how can they go against the might of China, right? Well, because they will be our proxy. We will support them, just like we're doing with Russia and Ukraine, right? Now, that didn't have to happen. That war could have, but again, Mister Vlad, it's the war of the two Vlads. They represent the corporate structure, the hidden hand, the unipolar transnational, oligarchy, right? That runs the world and has since Babylon, right? But they had to give the illusion of separate states until now. They're trying their best. I mean, they had their plan and they were clipping it off, and they were expecting to have everyone mind wiped by 2050. But stuff was occurring like this. I wanted to watch it, not add it. Uh, Joe Biden and moron boy Carrot Head. There is no difference.
The practice you are about to learn is almost never described publicly. The Cave of Brahma can activate a wide range of new powers,
Why do you think I
abilities,
meditate every
and
morning?
states of consciousness.
Why do you think
We
this
will
moon's
explore
watching?
4 major secrets of sacred geometry. These secrets will guide us into learning a very powerful method which can activate any energy center in your body or energy field.
If I'm still alive.
You'll learn how to apply this method to activate the most important energy center in the human head.
This point. In either case, others feel that it is something that we shall ultimately enter into, while others believe that it is something that we are received a lot of attention. Others believe that it is something Transition into the fifth dimension is now under progress for all of humanity. This is a higher vibratory level that will bring about good change on a scale that applies to the entire globe. The fifth dimension has received a lot of attention in recent years. Others feel that it is something that we shall ultimately enter into, while others believe that it is something that we are already living in at this point. In either case, there are a few facts regarding the fifth dimension that you absolutely must be aware of. It is first and foremost considered to be a spiritual dimension in which everything is interconnected. This indicates that there is no barrier separating us from the rest of the cosmos in any way. We are all of one mind. Additionally, it is stated that time and space are distinct in the fifth dimension. Instantaneous occurrences are possible, as are simultaneous presences in many locations. It is also believed that there is an excessive amount of love and light present in this dimension. There will be a plethora of materials at your disposal on DNA Awakening to further your knowledge of the fifth dimension if you are interested in doing so. As we go forward into the future, many of us are learning whole new ideas that have never been presented to us before. Sometimes the exploration is initiated on purpose, while at other times it appears as though these words and pieces of information materialize out of nowhere. As we prepare to move into the fifth dimension, this video will discuss some of the things that you will most likely come across. Although this shift is taking place all around the world, you have already been through it in the past. So, what exactly is the fifth dimension? It's the location you visit when you're awake yet completely captivated by something. You are so far off from the 3D matrix that in the fifth dimension,
Being in the
reality as we
flow.
know it is not real at all. We are
When
able
you
to
are out of
experience a
time.
variety of optical illusions, and our perception of time can shift in unexpected ways. To think that this is just the beginning. You are now on the verge of experiencing a major transition.
It's
You have
deja vu.
evolved to a completely
Lean
new
into
degree
it.
of awareness. This is the honest and authentic you. We have entered the fifth dimension.
You're always
It's
there.
possible that you'll only become conscious of this condition while you sleep. It's possible that you've only felt it while you meditate. You will experience a shift in consciousness as you view this video and proceed into the fifth dimension.
Basically, when you hear athletes talk about being in the zone, that's what they're talking about, right? Because they're so focused on what they're doing. That basketball player, tennis player, they're so focused that they can achieve things that normally you can't, right? I was listening to McEnroe on the radio the other day, and he was talking about his career and that he was basically a mediocre, um, um, talent-wise, you know, tennis player, and now he had the skill set to, you know, play tennis at a level, that's professional. But he would have been in the middle group. It was that he, um, through his experience, and he didn't even understand it, and he didn't even know that he was doing. He was explaining it, and this is what he was talking about: being in that flow, right, and not being distracted. And he watched other great players. How do they do it? And he didn't understand the process. He just got there, right? Now, the powers that be, the hidden hand, the unipolar transnational oligarch, wants to control you. I mean, you are seen as a asset, right? Like, how many tons of coal, how many units of natural gas. You are an asset. When you go on Google, they are mining you. You know, they are extracting from you, right? You should be paid. We should be paid for this, right? And the more you express this, and it's not an individuality as we're taught to be exceptional. It's understanding of connectivity to the whole, right? And that's what this guy is talking about.
Mention. You will now be able to access higher frequencies of energy, which exist outside of time and space as well as the typical range of human experience. Because of your increased level of consciousness, you will be able to communicate with your superior self, your spirit guides, and the spiritual realm.
So, that's what he's talking about. And that's what I'm talking about, right? And that's what I have been talking about the last 4 plus something years, right? And I've done over 2,000 shows, no matter what YouTube says I have done. It's like, and come on, thumbs up, get me on the algorithm. I'm like at the bottom of the barrel, right? So anyway, so we're going to go back to my novel, and I'm going to read that, right? Because I'm going to put it down at least someplace, because I've been trying to put it up on something and it's not worked so well. So here I am at page 3, and let's see. And I was going on with this conversation between Gertrude Stein, Wallace Stevens, John Ashbery, and John Yale, right? So we talked about the Johnny Toilet, right? So you can go back and watch that. Let's see. I'll pick it up right here where John Ashbery says that question. He said, so the question was, where is Johnny? And John Ashbery answers, that question is best answered with the statement, do we all just want to be Tyler Durbin wannabes? Or do we ask the harder question? And all during my writings, when I have a statement like that, and so I'm saying, so how do we answer this question? Well, we have to have this statement, and then I ask a question. And if you all through my writing, I put, Psalms 116, 1 through 2, meaning that will give a nice explanation of where my head is at, right? And where your head could be at. And that's kind of what the Bible is good for, right? It's a good little um you buy a car, they give you owner's manual. I mean, that's the Bible, right? It shouldn't be really, because you should be talking to God yourself, right? So these days I kind of stumbled into going to church. I mean, I'm a churchy guy, but I'm out in the middle of nowhere, right? So um I stumbled into 3 different churches. The Ku Klux Klan Southern Baptist Church, and the Mercantile um, uh, WASP Church, and the Roman Catholic uh, kind of a pagan church. And so the Ku Klux Klan, right? So these people aren't evil; they're not terrible. There was a great I just heard a guy who wrote a book about the Vietnamese when they came to America. When we ran from Vietnam, and we took a few 100,000 of the folk who helped us out. Unlike what we did in Afghanistan, where we just cut and ran and left everybody there. We took a few thousand, but in Vietnam, we actually tried to get some folk here and try to help them, assimilate into American culture, right? And a group went down to the Gulf of Mexico, of Texas, into Galveston, which had been a great shrimping and crabbing neck of the woods. But once oil was found there, they stuck every kind of chemical factory right there because there was a lot of fresh water and oil, and and natural gas, and those were the needs for the petrochemical industry. And they were, given tax breaks and et cetera. I mean, what's really interesting is that in the United States, we have this thing called the GDP, gross domestic product, and art. Art has a higher GDP value than oil because oil is a commodity that is basically meaning if the federal government didn't give tax breaks to the oil companies, they wouldn't be able to do their business. And we would have, back in the 1890s, used Tesla's wireless transmission of power because he envisioned everything to be run by it, your car, your house, your everything. And you'd have no wire, no, everyone would basically have free electricity. All industry would have free electricity. All, transportation, free electricity. And they want to go to electric cars, and they're not going to be able to do it with the 1960s electric grid we have. And the only way they can really do it is by, I mean, having batteries for a car. Give me a break. Um, that's so, 18th century. But the real deal is to, you know, have our whole physics and energy need um, put on scalar rather than Hertzian technology, right? And the other problem why they didn't want to go that way is that if we had this system around, basically every nation state could put a scalar bubble around their country, and they couldn't be attacked. If everything's being run on this wireless current, and your tank is run by wireless current, and you run in, that the scalar bubble is around that country. Well, you can't drive your tank through it because you don't have the code. It's just like having Wi-Fi. If you don't have the password, you can't get in. So, I mean, this technology was robust in the 1890s. And in 1891, there was a gigantic conference of all the powers um, that and they met in Paris because France at the time was the groovy technology place. It was like the Silicon Valley of the 19th century, and they discussed this. And basically, Mr. Rockefeller's folks were there and said, "No, no, we have to have our economy based on oil and the U.S. dollar, right? And the only way we can do this is have wars. So we're going to have lots of wars, right?" And the white hegemony of the omnipolar transnational oligarchy, which existed then. That's kind of like boys who were at Versailles during World War I, and basically Versailles just put it together to make sure that there'd always be war. That's what Versailles was about. So we'll go back to what John Ashbery said. The question is best answered with the statement, "Do we all want to be Tyler Durden wannabes?" And that was what the that group of white men um, in Paris in 1891, right? It was like Fight Club. Or do we ask the hard questions? And then there's Psalms 116, 1-12. Go look that up. And then, um, you know, John Ashbery says, "What is it I want to know? Is there someone here for me?" And that's kind of what we want to know. Is there someone here for me? Am I here all alone? Right? And that's because we have been set in a mind wiped, um, you know, um, matrix of experience that doesn't exist because it is lacking love. Right? What good is it, meaning love, now to be when I have always hated myself? And that is the contemporary motif of self-loathing and self-worth. What words? Me, when the meaning to everything is love. And that's true. That's what it is. The meaning to everything is love. What good would love do me now when I just want to kill myself? And that's what, is going on in all the war zones. People just want to kill themselves. And because otherwise they wouldn't be shooting at each other. But I'm scared of hell. So we give an excuse for war. Oh, they're stepping on my toes. Oh, and that's the speech that Jojo gave. His background was blood red. He had two, Marine soldiers standing at attention behind him, and he was in Philadelphia at Constitutional Hall. No, that's not where you have the war as president. And he goes on straight up. Oh, the mega people are terrible. We have to kill them all. Right? They're the big threat. And then, Carrot Head, days later, goes and says this.
Military veterans who were stationed at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1987 and became ill or injured.
You to give the most vicious, hateful, and divisive speech ever delivered by an American president, vilifying 75 million citizens as threats to democracy and as enemies of the state. You're all enemies of the state. He's an enemy of the state. You want to know the truth? The enemy of the state is him and the group that control him, which is circling around him. Do this, do that, Joe. You're going to do this, Joe, right? I think Philadelphia was a great choice to make this speech of hatred and anger. His speech was hatred and anger. By the way, the next morning he forgot what he said. You saw that. They asked him about, I didn't think I said that, did I? Oh, no. How'd you like the red lighting behind him like the devil?
As America nears towards the midterm elections, the president took the opportunity to address his country and call on his supporters to battle for the soul of the republic. While Donald Trump still hasn't announced his run for president in 2024, the mounting speculation seems to have prompted the Democratic Party to start the early campaign.
So, if you don't realize that Donald Trump and Biden are being run by the same guys, come on, wake up. Wake up. Come on. And that goes strictly to the question, So this is what we're, why I picked, Johnny Toilet. Because that's where the, unipolar transnational oligarch wants us to go. It wants us to have this in our head. And Johnny Toilet says, I hate those lucky bastards, we and me, unconditional love artists in the service to one love's whip, co-creation, always saving the day. I do more to look good like an A-lister should. It is me to be famous. I just want to destroy all beauties, poetry's alchemy of love's miraculous, unexpected consequence of the moment of all our relations, the we and me. Fuck the we and me. I am the I am. God's miraculous faux poet of the Johnny Toilet who surveys the land, scrapes off ego's shit, and then extracts the seam of the mean of one loves to be conditionally auctioned on the block of the slave soul of all our relations, erased value as it is conditional love. And then William Stevenson says, whoa, that's all sounds pretty darn incomprehensible to me. And Joan says, John, where is Johnny? And then John Ashbery says, that question is best answered with the statement. And then he gives a question. Do we all want to be Tyler Durden wannabes? Meaning, do we all want to be in Fight Club? Do we all want to be just punching the crap out of each other? Is that what we want? Or do we ask the hard questions? Again, read Psalms 116, 1 through 2, right? And then I state what are the hard questions? What is it? And I was explaining, is it, or it is a statement of understanding the three-dimensional slash multi-dimensional slash Aquarian. We're on this borderline between the Piscean age and the Aquarian age. And what is it? I want to know. This is what the hard question is. What is that borderline? I want to know. Is there someone here for me? And that's really the question we have about life. What are we doing here? Is there anything for me? Why am I experiencing all of this suffering? Well, listen, if you live your life moment to moment, you will experience bliss. That's when that basketball star is in the zone. And you can do, my life, when people look at my life, they say, whoa, that's like hard life, man. You have no money, you just barely get by. You have no food to eat, no money to put gas in your car. You can't go anywhere. You're stuck. I'm stuck in a really pretty place, And my best friend is this little bunny who comes and mows my lawn for me. He doesn't eat my garden. He just eats the grass, right? And he's always there when I'm wondering about something, and there he is, and he's looking at me, and he smiles, and then my crazed, so all of the neighbors who were coming in from Florida and California, and New Jersey, and Maryland, and all oh, it's terrible there. I just had to escape. Well, they brought all of their woes with them, and they don't know it. So the Floridian, he's got a bunch of kids. He's trying to be a country boy. I've always dreamed, he said, I've always dreamed of being at the end of the cul-de-sac. And then he said, oh, wow, if the police come looking for me, I want to be able to drive across your front lawn to get out. Can I build a road down from my property through somebody else's property into your property to get out? And I say, no. Anyway, it's hard for me. He doesn't, it cost him, $20,000, $40,000, $60,000 to do that. And so he put up a big fence. He cut down all of the blackberries, which is what I eat, not on my property, but around his. And blackberries are the best security fence you ever want. They got these gigantic stickers that are like razor blades, And so he cut them all down, and then he built a fence, which is the easy, now he gave a path for anyone who wants to get on his property to go through the forest, make a hole in his fence, and get in, right? And so he puts up big signs everywhere. Stay out, private property. I've got TV cameras everywhere. And he does. But to tell people that you got it, it's like, so this is this guy, what is it I want to know? He doesn't even know he wants to know something. It's like he wants to escape. He wants to have this sense of safety. And so he came way out in the middle of nowhere into my, garden paradise. And he drives he's made paths so his kids can ride their dirt bikes all over other people's property, and he's tearing it up. This one farmer came and said, listen, that's that grass that your kids are destroying is what my cows eat. I harvest that and sell it, and you destroyed 40 acres that I can't mow. And he goes, fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want to do. That is not being in the fifth dimension. That is not. Or do you want to ask the hard questions? Psalms 116, 1-2. What is it I want to know? Is there someone here for me? What good is it, meaning love, now to be when I have always hated myself? How can you love anything if you hate yourself? What words? Me, when the meaning to everything is love, right? What good would love do now when I just want to kill myself, but I'm scared of hell, right? What have I misjudged? No, what? Question mark. Have I misjudged you, love? Question mark. When here you say, forgive yourself. Right? So that's love's unheard word. Right? Then we go into scene 1B. Love is the inaudible. All else is illusion. With faith. Go with faith, semicolon. Go with love's we in me, semicolon, co-creation, period. And so say we all. Chapter 1 of scene 1B. This is how it begins. It is mother of us all who said, call me. No, mother of us all, right? Who said, see, and that's why you got to read this, because my sentence structure, my punctuation, my grammar, my spelling, I've all done on purpose to catch your attention. And if you can't read it, and I'm reading it to you, and I'm doing it, because, you got to realize that in first grade, I was murdered by a nun. She crushed my esophagus, my voice box, and, made me deaf in my left ear of certain frequencies, broke the orbit of my eye so it can't see certain frequencies of light but can see others. And, my broke my jaw. So my jaw was wired shut for about 6 months. Couldn't hear anything, couldn't see anything. I had to breathe through straws in my nose. She crushed my head. And, people would say, oh, that's terrible. Oh, and a lot of people thought, that made me disabled, you know. And in the 50s, so after this happened, I have this interesting, like, do you all want to be Tyler Durden wannabes? Get to beat shit out of him and then have these insights, And that's what happened to me. And I was taken, first of all, I was taken away from my parents, luckily, by my grandma. So from 0 to 6, I grew up in Harlem in a very amazing neighborhood. If you go listen to George Carlin and in his description of his neighborhood, that was my neighborhood. He does a much better job. He really, really does. George Carlin, I'm about 10 years younger than George, and, I came from his school. Right? I mean, literally. So if you go read George Carlin and his books, he's a great writer. And he and his HBO specials, he describes in one of them, he describes where he came from and his childhood and his mother and all of that, how he grew up and how he got to. And that's what this novel tries to do. And, I do it in my own kind of way, not at all close to George Carlin, but George really had what it, he'd got it down, right? So, scene 1B. Love is, semicolon, the inaudible, dot, 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 dot. All else is illusion, right? Period. With faith, semicolon. Go with love's, semicolon. We and me, semicolon. Co-creation and, period. And so say we all. Chapter number 1. This is how it begins, semicolon. It is, meaning this illusion, the mother of us all. So that's why we are in this really strange experience of life. Who said, semicolon, call, who said, semicolon, quote, call me love's unheard voice. That's the who said. And I say, semicolon, each must have the ability to bring their presence, the most positive outcome to our community cultivation's ability to change for the better, the social, political, economic prosperity for all our community, of all our relations, and so say we all. And that was something I wrote as a mission statement for a organization in Roanoke, Virginia, created by a bunch of us, but mostly by a guy named Khalib Jones, a great, I mean, just again, a human being who is, just kept doing his best. He had everything against him, and he always did his best. He was like a sweeter. I mean, not sweeter. Malcolm X was sweet. I knew Malcolm X was a little boy. He used to pat me on the head. He's a good white boy. So, um, you can always do your best. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time. So that's why no matter where I am, I'm doing okay. Yeah. I mean, I've died 7 times and I'm okay with it, right? I'm not scared of death. I've experienced it 7 times. I had 3 of my life's, oh, look at that. Look what you did. So, um, that's why I do this Dreamy Dreamland, because, I was exposed to Dreamy Dreamland from the day I was born. And I kept having teachers who kept explaining to me what life and what's going on is all about. And so we go, and so say we all. And then we go to the next part of this chapter, and it's Chad, 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 Chad. And then you read Philippians 4.7, right? To get a heads up what I'm talking about. What is Chad? Chad is a lot of stuff. Chad is the bloody stuff people throw in the water to bring sharks to the area, right? Chad is the stuff when airplanes fly into war zone to not get shot down. They pump out the stuff that distracts the anti-aircraft missiles and artillery. So Chad, 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 into infinity. The early O's, the new Prometheus, all the promise, semicolon, without no reward, period. But what is the prize? And there is no prize. It is to move forward and to grow into love's co-creation. That's there is no prize. It's to learn, right? No, exclamation point, love, exclamation point. It is the only thing that is semicolon real. Lounging on the crapped out, outstretched, thrown out, unwanted whale mart slave girl lawn chairs. And the date was 6th month of the 6th day of the 06 year. As Homer, Bella, and I, Al Bob, gazed up at the stars on that clear night in the deep green where there was not a incandescent big box store bottom line reality for 60 miles in any direction, meaning where I live, one of the reasons I picked this place is that it has great stargazing. There is no light. Our island of seeming transformational serenity outside the vastness of galactic mysteries of what we are doing with our seemingly insignificant life. But I thought we were changing the world. It seemed so true, so bona fide, with all our relations, stated faith of love's co creation. All else was illusion, including that thought. So, the I had been involved with the rainbow gatherings, the tribe of living light, for good 20 years, and that was the stated statement of purpose of that, and all the rainbow gatherings did over the years, and the first ones were great, but they degenerated into just a drug party, and one of the things when we started was if we did it on the celebration was 4th of July, and instead of blowing things up, what we did that day was to basically meditate and not speak, to be in quiet. So I don't know if any of you have ever been quiet. So that's why I live here, because listen, even with all of the rich people who have moved in and bought up everything, and they're ripping and tearing and destroying things, it's still quiet. And if you can put yourself in that quiet, you can talk to God. Homer is one of my sons of the canine persuasion. Bella is his mother, and she is my North Star. Even to today, she has, and she's been dead for almost 10 years now, a way more perceptive gut than I have ever had. And so she's always in quietness. She never barks. She's always quiet, right? And she's always with me. And the moron from Florida, and that's what he is. I mean, he's an all right. Everyone goes, "Oh, he's so terrible. He's a criminal. He's this. He's not that. He's okay in his core, but he can never quiet down. He can never stop. He's always going. He's on his motor. He can't walk a quarter mile from his house to down the hill and then another 600 yards into my deep green. He can't. He has to ride his dirt bike, and it has no anything. So when he drives it, it stinks, right? And so I tell him, that 600 yards you have to walk. No, he drives straight to my front door of the man cave, right? And so I had to. Now he's put a gate and fence around everything, and I basically pull my car into my my site, and I block off um, his ability to drive his motorcycle. So if he wants to see me, so instead of taking his motorcycle down to see me, now he drives his big, gigantic, what General Motors vehicle, Tacoma or whatever they call it, the biggest vehicle you could ever friggin' drive, right? And he goes through $100 worth of gasoline, you know, every other day, and he's constantly telling me he has no money, right? So anyway, he parks his car right in the middle of the road so nobody can drive. But if I were to just have someone comes and visits me, and we're talking in the road, he will come down and he will blare. He's got an air horn to like for us to get out of his way. Stop blocking the road. Anyway, um, and that I digress to give that little image because he can't slow down. He can't be quiet. And he comes and talks to me, and we talk about interesting, deep thoughts. And he does have, because everyone does have that, right? And so Homer is one of my sons of the canine persuasion. Bella is his mother, and she is my North Star. 10 years later, she still is. Even to today, she has a way more perceptive gut than I have ever had, spiritually, intellectually, my better half. All my canine relatives and relations have come to be singularly a set point in my nonlinear reference. That is my existential existence. I am a dog boy. Watch out for the dog. It could be God. Grammar cannot measure the value of what is. And spelling is a spell. Don't eat that poison. That's why I'm insulting on purpose. And I totally try to crunch grammar, right? because I'm trying to show you how it was designed to basically control your mind. I mean, every word in the English language is a spell. Why don't you go Google that one? That is, their presence is my life's stream. It is not a matter of where they seem to be at this moment. Irrelevant position of non existence. The only constant is their love. That's why I'm a dog boy, because they're unconditionally loving. The only creatures that really are love, that we co create together, cross species, with the great link of all our relations. And all our relations is everything in existence, every feathered, furred, scaled, skinned, cold blooded, warm blooded, microscopic living thing is our relations, right? And we, in this materialistic, mechanistic, economic world, that's the only thing to us is the golden rule. Who has the gold rules? That night, beyond the momentary awareness, we were a fixed point in the fundamental matter of things, space, and the dimensional measure, a clip in time of our delusion of ego space time. So we were in that flow, we were pulled out of ego space time. With that night, all our emotions, free will, emotionally conscious spirit, we were bound together as one unimaginable universal force. Did I tell you to be able to read this book, you need to suspend your disbelief is is in our upside down world? And so say we all. Remember, breathe deep and say 3 times, conscious intent I am, conscious intent I am, conscious intent I am. Om. Love's co creation as the only thing that was something I thought I had faith in. Yet I was all navigating and spiritual realization, and still navigation and spiritual realization of this thing as my worldview. Even though I was 460 pounds of off the cliff, like Willie Wiley Coyote heading for Death Valley, I was still swimming in the pool of chocolate mousse of the desperate corporate lawyers. Hedonistic life, and I liked each slice of that to die for chocolate cake. So that's the years, the early O's, the years, and I was the Chad, as the blood in the water for the corporate world. And so, see, it's kind of my writing, as one of my friends who's in the publishing world said that, he said that it was like reading James Joyce on acid, and he said it's extraordinarily dense. He said I have to read each paragraph 3 to 6 times to really get what you're talking about. I said, well, that's why I did it, to force the reader to really go deep. So anyway, how many people? Still, no one's watching, and it's 53 minutes and 53 seconds. So this is a good time to jump out of here. So I'm going to try and come back in the afternoon and see if anyone has read this. And I would love it if you would make some comments, right? And when we go on, that we could talk about what I just read and what I just talked about. There was a lot of stuff there that I just did that you should unpack, you know. And, this show, I do it because it is the shamanic little pebble in the pond. I mean, I do it on the YouTube because I don't care, like nobody's watching, there are no thumbs up. It's obviously, YouTube lets me do this, right? And because it does give a physical documentation of what I'm saying, what I'm doing, and I'm interacting with the world this way, and you can come and look at it or not, but it's still affecting you. if you're going on the internet, and anything you do, your banking, everything is on the internet. So my little pebble is sending out waves, shamanic waves out to the universe. And I died in 2014, being 460 pounds, and all my organs crashing, and my legs were jet black with these red, stripes. Now I look like a race car, and they wanted to crack my chest, give me a quadruple bypass, and cut off my legs. And I said no. And so I came back from that to this with prayer and unconditional love and discipline of going back into my, aesthetic ways, right? More or less being a vegetarian, but I still eat meat. I do everything in balance, and that's why I have homeostasis, which is a balance of your body, or the balance of the environment. So anyway, that's it. Now it's 56 minutes and we're heading towards 56 seconds. So, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, as it was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without end. Okay, so this is the new matrix, the new how I'm going to do this show. I'm going to read a little bit from my novel, because seemingly that's the only way it's going to get out into the World Wide Web, at least at this moment, right? There are other ways. And I'm working. So, anyway, I look forward to hearing from you on my email, the